We are 2 days away from Notre Dame hosting Cincinnati in a top 10 showdown between the Fighting Irish and the Bearcats. Joining us today is Jason Stamm over at BearcatReport.com to preview this game from his side of things. So, Jason, first question here is what's kind of the feeling from the Cincinnati coaching staff, the players, when they've had media availability? From some tweets and articles I've seen this week, seems like the Bearcats are pretty confident, and they are slight favorites in this game.
Yeah, maybe surprising to some that they're slight favorites. This team is really good. And they've been good for a few years now. They're just now getting to where they're getting opportunities like playing Notre Dame. And I don't know if you got a chance to read the in-depth look from Pete Thamel this week, but I think a lot of stuff was really kind of what we've been seeing again for a couple of years now is finally getting out there, and everybody's finally taking notice. And it's these type of games like playing Notre Dame that's going to get, that people are finally paying attention now. That in addition to them going to the Big 12. But, as far as this week, I don't know if you had a chance to really listen to, Coach Fickle's, press conference this week, but he's not downplaying anything. Like, they know the significance of this game. This is on a national stage, on national television, two top 10 ranked teams. This is the type of game, A, you want to be in, but B, if you want to be considered in that elite level, which they're teetering right there, this is the type of game that will put you over that and put you into that, national prominence type, maybe in the talk for the college football playoff. This would be a legitimate win. Got so close with Georgia last year, arguably should have won that game. But I think they've got all the confidence in the world going into this one. And I think a lot of it goes with Desmond Ridder. You're talking about a guy who's been a 4-year starter, who he knows that playbook like the back of his hand at this point. He's had the same offensive coordinator at Mike Denbrock, as we know that makes a huge difference. So I think that also gives them confidence, but they're not downplaying this game. They know it's important. They're not, getting away from it. They know they need to win this game, and they know they can. From the players and the coaches, they're all not avoiding it. They're talking about how big this is and how they all know how big an opportunity this is for them as a program, especially when you're going, they're moving to the Big 12 in a couple of years.
Crazy thing about scheduling, when you're scheduling a decade out or whatever it is, like Notre Dame's paying Cincinnati. It's like $1 million to play this game, and Cincinnati's a favorite. How many buy games are out there that the team that is being paid that sum is the favorite? That's got to be extremely rare. So, Jason, obviously a lot of familiarity in this game. Marcus Freeman, Mike Mickens, Jeff Quinn, Brian Kelly, all former Cincinnati coaches. And, of course, Mike Mickens was just there a couple years ago. Marcus Freeman was the DC last year, led the Bearcats, that defense, to a great season, nearly upset Georgia. So Mark Freeman knows Cincinnati's personnel and the tendencies of Luke Fickell. The Notre Dame offense has basically been practicing against the Cincinnati defense for, this whole year. But then at the same time, Cincinnati knows Freeman's defense obviously really well. So do you see one side of this having an advantage in preparation for this game, or is it more of a wash in your opinion?
I think that I think they both have advantages from both sides. First of all, to get back to your point, Mike, on them playing this game, I mean, when Cincinnati scheduled this game, they were still in the Big East, if that tells you how long ago this was scheduled. And I want to say, if not 3 athletic directors ago, this may have been 4 athletic directors ago when this game was scheduled. I can't remember if Whit Babcock, who's now at Virginia Tech, if he's the one who scheduled this game, or it may have been his predecessor. So you're talking about, it's unbelievable how far back this thing goes. But yeah, as far as any advantage, these are all guys that Marcus Freeman recruited, so he knows them really well. Or most of them. There may be a few in there, obviously, he did not recruit, but the vast majority of guys on that defense are Marcus Freeman guys. And I'm sure it's the same at Notre Dame. At Cincinnati, he was so hands-on with recruiting. Everything on that defense went through him. And he, a lot of times he was the guy who would kind of put that recruitment away and get these, top guys they've been having the last few years. That was Marcus Freeman. He was by far their top recruiter when he was at Cincinnati. as far, I mean, again, going back to your question on advantage, Mike, I don't know. I just think it's almost like when you have penalties on the same play that cancel each other out. I kind of think of this in the same way. Like, I think they each have things that they're going to be able to, work with, that they know. Obviously, they know Marcus Freeman. But then, Brian Kelly knows Mike Denbrock super, super well. He knows some of his tendencies on offense. I think they're going to have some wrinkles in there. Some play, whatever you've been holding on to that the other one doesn't know about. That's what that could be the difference, is those couple of plays. Mike Denbrock may have something up his sleeve that he's developed over the last couple of years that Brian Kelly doesn't know about. But overall, I know Brian Kelly knows the type of manager that Denbrock is. He knows what he likes to do in certain situations. And so, absolutely, I think that goes to both of their advantages. So, but again, like I said, it's all because it's almost like a coordinator swap.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's just kind of it evens out in a lot of ways, and that's partly to me what the intrigue of this game. I think it's going to be so evenly matched because of that, and that's one reason why I think that.
Yeah, it's certainly fascinating. I forgot about the Denbrock point. Obviously, former Notre Dame offensive coordinator. Yeah, and then you look on the field. If you just put all of the off the field stuff aside, it's really an intriguing matchup. What makes Cincinnati such a dangerous team? Why are they favored right now, Jason?
Well, and see, we didn't even talk about Michael Young. You have that advantage.
There you go, former Notre Dame
receiver.
Another
one. Yep. So it's very. There's just so many things with this game that are so intriguing. Very, very few times are you going to see this many things, commonalities, or it's like they've traded off, lost. It's unbelievable. But I don't know. Like, there's just so many things with this game that intrigue me. What makes Cincinnati so good? Again, I think it all goes back to Desmond Ridder. Like, Desmond Ridder, this team begins and ends with Desmond Ridder. There are a lot of other good pieces, and he has more to work with this year than he has before. He's had a lot of good receivers. He's got arguably, I'd say, top 3 tight end in college football, and Josh Wiley. I've heard a lot of people, even Pete Thamel referred to him in his story. I'd heard it before as Travis Kelce 2.0.
Wow.
With Travis Kelce being, a Cincinnati guy himself, probably the biggest thing that Cincinnati has produced in, the past decade. Josh Wiley is every bit that good. Absolutely. I don't think that's an understatement or that's an overstatement to say Travis Kelce 2.0. Now, again, we're talking about Travis Kelce coming out of UC. I'm not saying Travis Kelce now. He's developed. That's a pro, right, obviously, at this point. He's been at Kansas City long enough. But there are a lot of similarities. Josh Wiley's 6'7", like huge, tall, tight end that, yeah, he can block, but you talk about a mismatch against most people he's going up against, there's your mismatch. It's Josh Wiley. Alec Pierce gives them a really good option at wide receiver. Again, Michael Young gives them some more of that deep threat. Jerome Ford has looked really good at running back. Transferred from Alabama. Yep. They've had a couple of really good running backs the last few years. Jerry Dokes, Michael Warren. Jerome Ford, I wouldn't have said this last year. I didn't think he was up to this level, but where he is now, he's looking probably like the player Alabama thought they were going to get at this point. Like, he's much more developed and polished, and that gives you more options when you have a running back like that you can, dink out some screen stuff to, or that can get you some yards in the middle. That not everybody has to key in on Desmond Ridder every play, but again, I think it really starts and ends with Desmond Ridder for sure.
Yeah, as you were talking about Jerome Ford, I was like, man, I remember covering his recruitment and pull up his Rivals page, and that's his picture on his Rivals page. I took it. So yeah, I remember Ford
ringing some bells.
Yeah, hey, even more connections between the two programs. I don't know, but yeah, Ford's he's a good-looking running back, comes from a great program in the Tampa area, Armwood. So Jason, if you want to give me a score prediction, I will love it, but otherwise, how do you see this game playing out?
Oh, man, I think this is going to be one of the better games we see in college football this year. I really do. I think Cincinnati is just on – they're on a roll. And so many times – and this is not – I have no connection to Cincinnati and go there. I don't – this is purely from just watching them, covering them the last few years. Like, when you have those really good teams, they all just have that feel to them. Clemson had it the last few years. I don't think they have it anymore. I was texting my friend of mine who's at Clemson now. They just don't feel like Clemson. They don't act like Clemson. Cincinnati right now is acting, they feel like one of those teams where things just go right for them, and you expect it to go right for them. They've got great coaching. They've got experience. They've got good offense and defense and even special teams. There aren't a ton of weaknesses on this team. Like, this is by far, I mean, I thought last year was really good. This is what they've built to is this year. Especially with Desmond Ridder. You know, we thought maybe last year was Desmond Ridder's last year. He's come back, and so I think that's made this year now the year they built for. So, again, I think this is going to be such a nip-tuck game. Can't see it really getting out of the 20s.
Okay.
I think it's going to be like a 27-24 Cincinnati. I'm gonna go with Cincinnati, but I think it's going to be very close. So I guess was it 2-point spread they would cover at that point, like 27-24. I don't think it's going to be super high scoring. Don't think low scoring. I think there'll be a lot of lead changes within that. But yeah, I would take them 27-24.
I picked Notre Dame to lose against Wisconsin last week. Caught a lot of crap for it, deservingly so. Part of my reason for picking Wisconsin was that I refused to predict Notre Dame to lose a home game with their current stretch of home wins going on for so long. So I got Notre Dame 28-21. So that's.
But we're thinking along the same lines. Like, you're thinking in the 20s.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's going to be a shootout. I don't think it's going to be this really defensive game. I think it's going to be really a lot of good stuff on both sides of the ball.
All right, that's Jason Stamm, Mike Singer. Appreciate you guys watching. Hit that thumbs up. We'll catch you next time.